The All Progressives Congress will choose its presidential candidate through an indirect primary election. The decision was reached at the party's 11th National Executive Committee meeting, holding at the Transcorp Hotel in Abuja. According to the APC National Women Leader, Dr. Betta Edu, President Muhammadu Buhari will work in concert with the party's national chairman, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, and other organs of the party to come up with acceptable candidates for next year's general election. Dr. Edu also stated that the party will not cede its presidential ticket to any aspirant known to be a male chauvinist. However, in the latest development, President Muhammadu Buhari and other leaders of the party transmitted their powers to the National Working Committee of the APC to make decisions for a period of 90 days. In addition, the party fixed the expression of interest and nomination forms for its presidential ticket at 100 million naira. While female aspirants will get free nomination forms, they will have to pay for their expression of interest forms. Joining us now from Abuja to discuss the latest developments in the ruling All Progressives Congress, the APC, is the National Women Leader, Dr. Betta Edu. Dr. Edu, good morning, and thank you for joining us on the morning show.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Well, thank you too for joining us. Two quick questions. Are you so sure that the APC will not allow male chauvinists to get nominated, to get onto the platform? And secondly, are you satisfied with what the party had done by saying that, okay, women and persons who are physically challenged will not have to pay for nomination forms, but they will have to pay expression of interest forms? Because previously, you were quoted as having said that forms should be given to female aspirants in particular, free of charge. But are you happy with what the party has done?
So first and foremost, we must thank our leader, President Muhammadu Buhari, and indeed the chairman of the party, a very dynamic and gender-sensitive chairman, and all the members of NEC and NWC for the decisions and approvals granted yesterday. Right from the start, we had stated very clearly that our party is interested in empowering women, our party is interested in mainstreaming women and giving us our rightful place to contribute to the development of our country. Remember, wherever you find women, you find peace, creativity. We come with that spirit of nurturing things and taking them to greater heights. Yesterday, the party, through the NEC, was able to approve that women would be getting free nomination forms. This has been the situation from the beginning, and we remain very, very grateful. The expression of interest is not the form. Expression of interest just shows your commitment to getting on the party's ticket or on the party's platform, and people should make some commitment to say, I'm interested. And then, of course, but the main nomination form, which qualifies you to run for an election, is completely free for women who are running on the platform of the APC, and we are very grateful to NEC for this. This would encourage more women to come out and run. It will encourage more women to participate in the political process. Remember, sometimes women are a bit disadvantaged, but this places them at a higher pedestal to come all out and run for the elections. I think this is very profound. It's probably the first of its kind in a very, very long while in any political party in Africa. And we're proud of APC that they have really mainstreamed women and given them that opportunity. So it's up to us as women to come all out and run for the positions that we want to vie for, and really go out there to make an impact so that you secure the ticket for another woman to run.
Right. What about mainstreaming other demographics, since we're talking about inclusivity? You have prohibitively expensive expression of interest and nomination forms at 30 million naira and 70 million naira, totaling 100 million naira for forms alone. Obviously, only the 1% of the 1% can actually afford that. What about the general average Nigerian? Are they being told that they don't have a seat at the table in the APC? I think of Abraham Lincoln talking about how democracy is the government by the people, for the people, but not a minuscule elite, which is what is being done here. What's your comment on that?
Not at all. The party has been very, very careful in its decision. Very, very careful in its decision. I'm sure if you listen very clearly, they stated that persons, special leaders, special persons who have any form of disability would also be exempted from paying a dime for their nomination forms. And this is also very, very profound. They are also going to be mainstreamed as it concerns this. Beyond that, of course, you know very well that young people have also been given that approval that they would get a 40% discount. This is to enable more young persons come on board the platform of APC. So it's not just about the women alone. The party is coming up with a full package that would also consider the young people, coming up with a full package that will consider those who have disability, and of course the women which I represent. But beyond that, I'm sure you know very well that everywhere around the world, a party or running for elections have never been cheap. It has never, ever been cheap. And the party must be able to have means to guard against several other issues that may arise. You find people who are not interested in running for elections just standing up, picking up forms, and just wait, and just to constitute a kind of barrier or put a stud in the entire process as it goes on. These are not things that we want to see as a party. We are a ruling party, the largest party in Africa, a party where if you pick their nomination form and you are a candidate, the probability of you becoming the elected person for that position is almost 100%. So we cannot afford to dabble or joke around or gamble around. And so we want only serious people who are interested in running and representing the different persons to run. For all we care, 1.5 million naira for a House of Assembly a nomination form it's fair. It's fair to the general population, right? It's very fair. And for women, it's free. For disabled, it's free. For young people, it's 40% off. That's really, really very fair. And of course, going for the other positions, right? We know what it was before and what it is now. And we're trying to prevent certain persons who are not, sometimes they are not even members of the party. They just get their way in, or they are being used as syndicates. They pick up forms and they begin to constitute a kind of stud in the way of the whole electoral process, and they pull the party backwards. So all of those things are things which we are really, really fighting against. And we believe as a party, we've done what is best for Nigerians and those who are interested in running for the elections. And we believe that those who come on our platform as APC will emerge as winners.
All right, Betta, you said the 1.5 million for House of Assembly is fair. How is that fair in a country where over 98% of the population don't have up to 500,000 naira in their bank accounts? Like NDIC says, the National Deposit Insurance brought out those that 98% of the population don't have up to 500,000 naira in their account. And for House of Assembly, which is supposed to be a state position to represent particular areas of a state, we're saying 1.5 million is fair. And one step further, you said between the age of 25 to 40, that's the youth I expect here. How many 40-year-olds, Betta, can afford 50, 60 million naira in this country? Does the APC really know what is going on in Nigeria? How many 40-year-olds have up to 60 million naira somewhere kept in their bank accounts? And let me top this with you, Betta. If they, because after paying these monies, they don't still, it's not an open sesame. They might still be screened out during the screening process. I think the screening process comes up, at some point in ending of April or May. If they are screened out by the screening process, will their monies be refunded to them?
So let me say this and say this very clearly. Coming to run for a governorship election is not an all-commerce affair. governorship election is serious business. For you to run through all the local governments, consult people, reach out to people, and indeed be able to campaign through those local governments are quite something that requires some good amount of resources. And when you make up your mind that you want to run, right, you should be able to prepare adequately for that race. Beyond that, there are many ways which people, young people, can generate funding for election. It mustn't be your money. I remember too well in 2008 or 2012, one of those years, if I'm not mistaken, I was on a holiday at the US, and I received a kind of envelope in my house saying that we should make donations to the Obama campaign. And we put in some monies and sent off, even though it was very little, but I can imagine everybody or so many persons coming together to put in that little. There are many ways young people can generate funds to run for whatever elections they have. And remember, they are not paying 100% of what others are paying. They have a 40% discount on what every other person would pay. And we can, if we want to project a candidate, we can come together as young people and donate our little and project a candidate that would come up and run on the platform of the party and win the elections. And we take ownership for it, that we put this person in power. But of course, like you know, for the women, the forms are free. So whatever the cost is, if you're a woman and you're running, you're having it free of charge, right? For those who are disabled, it's free of charge. We need to actually understand that truly we can come together, make those numbers, and support each other to run for whatever it is we want to run. We mustn't see it as one person having that money in their bank account. No, if you're a young person and truly people believe in you, and you know that you have the masses. We do fundraising. I remember one of the, a young person recently raised over 200 million in a matter of, let me say 72 hours. Raised over 200 million, which he gave out to charity. That means a young person can stand up today and say, I want to run for even the presidents. And every young person in Nigeria who is interested will put their little into a designated account in a transparent manner and would run for the elections, right? Because if you want to run for a president of Nigeria, you need to go through 36 states. Remember, the law prescribes that you should have at least 25% across board for you to be able to emerge. So it's not about just picking a form and sitting down one place and maybe you win only one polling unit and you say you want to run. That's not what we should offer as a ruling party. We need to put some seriousness. We need to put some skin in the game. It's serious. And if you want to be able to cater for Nigerians, right, you should have gone above the point where you have to look for 50 million. If you don't even have access to 50 million and you want to run for presidency, then there's a problem already. There is a problem already. How sure are we that you'll be able to manage so much funds if you're given that opportunity? So really, I believe young people can come together with the discount that have been given by our party, support one candidate who we believe in, make our contributions towards that candidate, and project the candidate on the platform, win the elections. That candidate knows that all of us were part of his emergence, and he owes us that duty to really work and project whatever young people are doing.
Well,
I think there are many ways to generate funds, and we should be more innovative to go about it.
Two things, Dr. Edu, except that the general perception out there is that the APC is encouraging corruption, giving its positions to the highest bidders. The decision with regard to women and persons who are physically challenged notwithstanding. But I'd like to ask you, the president was saying that, look, leaders of the party, persons interested in positions at all levels, should avoid any dictatorial behavior, and they should learn from what happened to the PDP in 2015, 2014, and what is beginning to happen to the APC. resulting in defections. The chairman of the party also made the same point that there is serious ego conflict within the APC between serving governors and former governors. And he too, striking the same note as the president and leader of the party, was calling for unity. How divided is the APC? And how could this division within the party, already acknowledged by both the chairman and the president, affect the fortunes of the party in the 2023 election process?
In every house, there are always those days where you have some disagreements between members of even your own family. So between yourself, your brother, your sister, there are days where you have those disagreements. But the beautiful thing about politics, the beautiful thing about party politics is the ability for all of us at the end of the day to come together, to unite under one front and project one candidate who would go on to win the elections. I was part of the reconciliation committee, and fortunately the present chairman of the party, Senator Abdullahi Adamu, was also the chairman of the reconciliation committee, and we went virtually through all the states in Nigeria, and we understood the core issues as it concerns unity or some disagreements among members of the party. And of course, like the chairman clearly stated yesterday, a lot of it was tied around ego, a lot of it was tied around some very little things that if we work together, if we work on them, we can be able to overcome it too soon and get on with our candidates, delivering them at the elections at all levels. And this is what the party is poised to doing. We had recommendations from the Reconciliation Committee, and we as NWC would be implementing these recommendations as we go along the way. We believe very strongly. The president was very clear yesterday. In fact, he was very, very advisory. He spoke like a father, like a leader to the entire party to say, let us come together and unite. This is not time to follow your ego or who is this or who is that. This is the time to come together for a single purpose of moving the party forward. And we are very, very confident that everyone who has heard the words from our father would listen and would follow amicably, would follow the right way, right? It's just for us to come together, and already we are beginning to do this. I know very well that the chairman, since his emergence, have been reaching out to different persons, holding different meetings, and all of that is to unite our interest, is to try to bring the party together and stronger together. And of course, the president said yesterday that he is very open to supporting the party, the National Working Committee, to achieve more reconciliation. So as we go down the line, as we work towards getting our candidates, we'll be seeing more and more reconciliation, and the party will be coming out stronger and bigger as we go forward. Definitely, there would always be that disagreement, but I believe very strongly, just as we went through the convention, which everyone thought, oh, the party was going to just crash and go down the drain, right? They said all sort of things. We saw all sort of things on the media and all of that. But the party went through its convention seamlessly. And at the end of the day, we have emergence of all the persons who are now members of the National Working Committee, and we don't even have a litigation on that. So it shows you that we will come back together. At the end of the day, we would unify our interests, we will work towards the ideologies, the standards of the party, and will ensure that we emerge victorious.
Right, thank you. Can you give us some clarity on the decision by the NEC to transfer its power, the National Executive Committee, to transfer its powers to the National Working Committee? And those powers, according to APC's Constitution, Article 13, include raising funds for the management of the party, which we discussed earlier today before you came on the show, considering reports and what have you. Why was that decision reached? What exactly does that entail? And I'm also looking here at the cover of This Day newspaper, which says there was no explicit discussion on the mode of primaries, says Bagudu. However, it has been reported in other places that APC has decided on indirect primaries. I'd like you to take this opportunity to give some clarity on that issue as well.
So very clearly, we know that we are running against the timetable of INEC. And as a party, we should be able to work with the timetable and ensure that we meet all the deadlines, right? And remember from the Constitution, which of course the presidency must be the guiding principle for everything we do in the party, we must be able to work with and stand by the Constitution of APC. Right? So now we have very limited timelines that we need to run on, and the party must deliver on its mandate. And so it would not be easy or smooth for the party NWC to take decisions every other day to the NEC to approve. Remember that the NEC is supposed to approve the decisions that have been reached by the NWC. Right? In this situation where we find ourselves right now, the NEC has given that power back to the NWC to say for the next 90 days, whatever decisions you take, it's binding on us. We agree with it so that we can be able to meet up the very tight schedule and we can be able to deliver on our mandates. After the 90 days, you will bring a report back to the House. We'll look at all you've done. And then if we need to give you more powers for another amount of time, we will do so as stipulated by the Constitution. On the other issue which you mentioned that was not discussed yesterday at the NEC, like you have rightly stated, has given their powers to the NWC, so the NWC would be going into meetings to decide on it.
All right, Betta, on the timetable here, I'm seeing some specific dates. I'm seeing the 14th of May, the 17th of May, 23rd of May, screening appeals dates. And after the primary elections for the Senate, the House of Rep, State House of Assembly, governorship, there's another date here, the 20th of May up to the 26th of May, election appeal. You know, after the primary election, then you can make an appeal for those elections. But the presidential primary that is on the special convention for presidential primary on the 30th of May to the 1st of June, there were no dates set aside for appeal in those presidential primaries. Is that an indication that the APC might go the way of consensus candidates?
Well, that's not an indication. That's not an indication. But, of course, the party leadership, the NWC, which has received power from the NEC, would be deciding on those things as we go along the way. As one party who is determined to deliver in the next election, the next general election, we believe clearly that we will be able to merge our interests going forward. But that does not in any way signify that it's going to be a consensus candidate. That has not been decided by the NWC, neither has it been decided by the NEC. Of course, there are other processes which might go on within this period that have been stipulated, which might not be written on black and white. Of course, there might be allowance. Of course, you know that the last day for submission is on the 3rd of June. And here we are saying on the 1st of June, we should be done with the presidential nomination of our candidate, right? So we have between the 1st and midnight of the 3rd to put in our nomination. And so this gives us time for anything that might come up. But we are strongly believing that all party men and women, leaders, stakeholders in their own rights will come together for the interest of our dear party to ensure that we have a smooth process leading up to the 2023 elections.
Well, Dr. Edu, I mean, it's been a few weeks since you emerged as the women leader of the APC. From the way you sound now, I see that you're acclimatizing very well. But what are the challenges that you have faced in terms of mobilizing, the women groups across the nation in the APC? And I started with that. when I asked you a question about male chauvinism. Have you met with any kind of resistance, or there are brighter hopes across, every constituency?
Indeed, right now, I have a different perception about women. A completely different perception about women. Let me just say, prior to the last 3 weeks, I used to hear a lot of people, even though personally I've not had such experience, I used to hear a lot of people say women are difficult to manage, women have their internal crisis and stuff like that. But in all honesty and all fairness, in the last 3 weeks, all I have received is total support. Even as I speak to you today, as soon as I'm done with this interview, I'm moving into a workshop, a capacity building workshop, where we'll be having the Minister for Women Affairs and all the zonal and state women leaders of our great party come together. Other very key stakeholders will be available to really build our capacity as we go forward with our work. Women have been supportive all across the country. I've been to 4 states already to mobilize women and lobby for women participation in the next election. This movement will continue with the speed of light. Next week, I hope to do at least about 4 states again to lobby for more women representation. And in all of these states I've gone to, women have turned out massively to give me their support, to give our party their support. And of course, we will keep to our social contract with those women. We are coming up with a lot of programs which we'll be unveiling at a big ceremony in a couple of days, about 10 days from now. We'll be unveiling it. And really, it's an agenda that will ensure that we empower the APC woman to go in, mobilize women to register. Remember, INEC registration ends in June. So we want women to be able to show us their APC registration and their INEC registration card. Go out door to door and mobilize these women. And then, of course, beyond that, we want to empower women all across Nigeria in our own little way from the APC Women's Wing, working, of course, with other interested parties to ensure that women are empowered. That way, when the elections are here, it will just be basically a stroll to the polls and a stroll to victory. We want to be able to ensure that women have that confidence that they need as Nigerian women, as APC women, to go out there to vote their candidate, to stand and defend the vote and ensure that their voices are counted.
Great. I just have a quick question, if you could keep it brief because we're running out of time, just to lift the veil, if you can, on party finances, because I started the show earlier this morning about how Marine Le Pen, who's in France contesting for that presidential seat over there, was taken to task by her opponent, Emmanuel Macron, the president of France, over a loan that she acquired from a Russian bank for her party. How does APC try to avoid these situations where they're beholden to individuals, foreign interests, corporate organizations, whatever the case may be, when it comes to raising funds for the party? And how does that tie into what we have rightly described as extremely expensive nomination forms? Just very briefly, if you can.
So really, the party has its own mechanisms of generating its funds for elections. And these are not mechanisms which I can discuss here. Some of them I do not know because I'm not in the finance section, but in the women's section. And I'm sure the director the financial secretary for the party and other members who are really tied down to that would be able to expressively discuss that. But I know very confidently that the party has its mechanisms for generating funds for its candidates that are running on its ticket. And really, the forms is not about generating money for the party, right? But it's about cutting out some of the excesses that comes when you give your forms almost at nothing. Some unwanted persons come in, and then, of course, they are not there to run, they are not there to contest. They just come strictly for one purpose, to just put a stud in the way of progress. And so we want to be able to avoid that. And like the chairman and NEC has rightly said, under the leadership of President Muhammadu Buhari, women have been mainstreamed, we've been considered, and we've been given a chance to run free of charge as it concerns the form. Of course, those who are disabled, free of charge, and 40% for young people in Nigeria. This shows that we are gender sensitive as a party, and we are also friendly to young people. We want to encourage them to run. Remember, the president signed the Not Too Young to Run bill, and this is an affirmation that as a party, APC, we support young people to run.
Okay, Dr. Betta Edu, would like to thank you very much. Although there is no more time, someone just sent me a message, but it's nothing you need to worry about. That why will women be excluded from paying for nomination forms? That isn't that a form of discrimination against men? But of course, if you put it in the larger context, it's not something you need to worry about or respond to. Thank you very much indeed for joining us.